Contemplationist Insight, a Simon Vumbaca podcast.
Welcome to the Contemplationist Insight, where we explore how leadership can use tech to elevate the future of business, leadership and life, without sounding like a user manual, that is. On the 8th of November 2024, I took the virtual stage at the Cyber Security Festival, an event where tech innovators, business leaders, and big thinkers alike gathered to explore the bolded questions about the future of technology and business. This high-tech mastermind session with fewer buzzwords. This year's theme, the transformative impact of cyber presence in business. Or as I like to call it, thriving in a world that always logged in. I couldn't resist diving into a reality we all live, but rarely pause to consider. The shift from being information-driven to data-centrics, and what that means for business, leadership, and even our sense of self. Companies like Amazon, Apple, and Spotify have turned data into their competitive edge, predicting what you all want before you even know it. But leaders face a different challenge. How to harness tech applied to elevate leadership without getting consumed by it. The very same tools that drive success and efficiencies can also trigger decision overload and even burnout, and something I like to call data dependency syndrome, or DDS, when progress feels like leading and more like keeping up with an algorithm that never sleeps. So, here's the big question. When the sky has no limit, how far should we go? With AI automation and quantum computing evolving faster than your last Wi-Fi upgrade, we have to ask ourselves, are we leading technology, or is it quietly running the show? Because keeping up with tech sometimes feels like playing chess against a supercomputer, while we're still learning how to play chess and reading the instruction manual. But here's the good news. The answer isn't complicated. It's refreshingly simple, but often overlooked. Stop. Think. Lead on purpose. In today's episode, we'll explore how to stay humane in a data-driven world. Lead with clarity and harness technology as a tool, not as a taskmaster. Because in a world where algorithms predict our every move and notification never sleep, the future belongs to leaders who lead on purpose, not by algorithm. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment, and if you like this or other topics of the Contemplationist Insight, do subscribe. But let's dive in. The 8th of November 2024, I stepped onto the virtual stage at the Cyber Security Festival to deliver my virtual keynote. The Cyber Security Festival is a dynamic event that tackles the bolded question about technology and the future, normally held in some great Italian location. Now in its 6th edition, this year's focus was on the transformative impact of cyber presence in business. As a keynote speaker surrounded by technology-minded individuals, I could not resist the opportunity to explore a powerful fact. How the growing cyber reality reflects a broader shift from information-driven to data-centric societies and its impact on value business models, particularly if you're a leader. In this keynote, I unpacked the profound implication of this shift, challenging the audience to think beyond numbers and algorithms to the human and philosophical shift shaping the future of business, leadership, and interaction. The expansion of cyber presence in business is a fascinating phenomenon, especially when we consider how we, as individuals, relate to it. Let me explain. Everything in business aims to competitiveness and profit generation. The growth of cyber presence is undoubtedly the land of opportunities. We constantly seek an edge, an advantage. We focus on improving results, better services, and alike. Businesses, particularly high successful ones, such as Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and alike, are structured around reliable, repeatable, systematic models. These, to be systematic, need to be mainly process-driven. These models are built on processes that accentuate predictability and repeatability. Information is king. But is that still so? Historically, this translated in the say that information is king. Initially, generic industry or product use specific information was enough to gain advantage. Then it wasn't. All had access to it. So the competitive advantage was lost. Information had to be more and more detailed, on time, and more specific. In some instances, behaviors and interactions started to be added in the information mix, making it a maze of interesting concepts. I recall with fascination when screens started gathering the eye movement of the users to see where the attention focused, and in turn deploying personalized screens that, together with personalized colors, would attract a specific response. Over the past 2 decades, however, we have seen a significant shift from being information-centric to being data-driven, and then from being data-driven to data-centric. Companies such as Oracle and Salesforce.com managed to harvest the reward of this trend. The data compiled were represented back to the user by cleverly thought landing reports that could pretty much tell anything about anything that was asked to them. Yet, we still had to define what to ask. It was, to a point, down to a board or management to define the direction and what were the points of interest. But the era of king data generated unexpected consequences. Now the focus is more on data than context. It's a profound change, as a data-driven approach transforms how companies operate. For example, a data-driven company might use tools such as CRM systems to predict outcomes based on historical data. This approach isn't merely about gathering information. It's about using data to confirm what actions are most likely to achieve success. Projections and forecasting is normally based on old data that is put to the stress test of algorithms. Okay, some might say that there is no future in forecasting and business planning precisely because it's based on old data, but that is a different conversation. Now, the shift from data-driven to data-centric may seem a subtle change in perception, but it is in fact a fundamental one. Add the complexity of quantum computing into the equation and the significance increases exponentially. With the expansion of AI-driven models and its penetration to seemingly all things, the transition from information-centric to data-driven models becomes even more forceful. The shift profoundly affects us as individuals in our daily lives and not just businesses. How we relate and manage our personal interaction with data is impactful on our daily lives, jobs, and even perceived worthiness. Take, for example, Experian and other models. Quantum computing models, however, the next level of computing being implemented, can process even more variables simultaneously. And where before AI models could just decide amongst a variable of model predefined, quantum computing models can even formulate entirely new business processes. These models will be, we are told, far more powerful, predictive, and provide near guaranteed outcome in certain scenarios. Now, this may seem great for business at first, but it will impact humans alike. Great, right? More opportunities, I hear you thinking. And I hope it would be so. Except, we must be clear and keep a view on what is the aim of those models. When the sky has no limit, how far should we go? It stands to reason that with the rewriting of the rulebook on business, things change. Certainly, the hacktivist collectives are trying to dominate this new space and redefine the rules. How we dedicate our time and our role will shift. Automation means less human interference. Does it mean more available time to do something else? Instead of being decision maker, data-centric decisions will require tools for implementing decisions rather than to define data-driven predictions. This raises a broader societal issue. How far shall we go? Technology progresses rapidly, which we often embrace. Makes early adopters feel empowered by being at the forefront of innovation. This fast-paced adoption has also unintended consequences, particularly for mental health. The constant, relentless evolution of technology, one of its initial appeals, can lead to feelings of obsolescence. If someone becomes an expert in a technology, that someone gains importance in the structure he operates in. That empowerment creates a form of success. However, when that same technology becomes outdated, in shorter than ever time lapses these days, that individual may feel that their skills, and by extension themselves, become obsolete. This can contribute to a phenomenon such as burnout, a growing concern over the past decade. Burnout today has become deeply ingrained, affecting not just our work, but our fundamental interaction with what we do. Another emerging issue is imposter syndrome. Many leaders and high achievers, particularly if success was gained via deployment of technological tools, find themselves doubting their actual ability and the appropriateness level of the reward they are receiving as a result. The reach does not stop there. The concept of data slavery is also evolving. This term refers to how individuals become increasingly defined and constrained by the data they produce and interact with. Young people, for example, grow up in digital ecosystems that dictate the rules of engagement. Not based on universal truth, but on the commercial interest of private companies. These disparities and even digital discrimination, where participation in specific platforms influences how individuals are perceived and treated. Take the shift that Twitter experienced becoming X as an example. Over time, these shape perceived identity, interaction, and even self-worth. In turn, this raises concerns about a form of multiple personalities and the rise of mental health and balance that seems to have expanded. Now, I'm not saying that that's the cause of it, but certainly a case could be made that that could be a contributing factor, particularly amongst leaders. Leaders to survive have to create multiple personas, so they can interact both with shareholders, their teams, their personal life, and so on. The persona used in social media, for example, is different than the one we normally use at work and on our personal life, or even at our club or our predilected hobby. This fragmentation can lead to confusion and the lack of coherence in one perceived sense of self. Ultimately, as a practical philosopher, with acute interest in all things leadership, this is where I believe we have been dismissive of an obvious resolve. How do we deal, or how to deal, with this confusion and lack of coherence? Well, I think that if we stop, think, and lead on purpose, we have a great chance to redefine the concept of time. Redefining the concept of time, regaining a form of understanding and ideally control over it, helps massively. And so does aligning action with purpose on all that a leader does. In essence, if we start to feel obsolete because technology changes so fast that it changes the parameters of our leadership, stopping and thinking and understanding that the purpose of what we do is to lead us in the right direction when it comes to acting, creates a detachment between the time of the technology itself and our ability to manage time as leaders. Small changes have lasting effect. Take emails, for example. Please do stay with me for this step-by-step approach. We used to treat emails as correspondence and letters. When they first appeared, receiving an email was an important matter. Progressively, their immediacy and access to computers meant that we were expected to deal with emails during working hours, on our working computers. Then again, with the advent of portable devices, BlackBerry and iPhone included, we were expected to immediately address emails as we received them, even out of hours. That seems like a good shift, right? But there's more. That changed the way we treated pocket tech and cemented the shift with personal time away. In a sense, my time was not anymore mine, it was the time to address, even out of hours, requests related to business. After all I was trying to do is to be a good leader. Priorities have become varied. Now, emails are the slow communication form. We communicate even faster via direct messaging. Oh, don't you worry if your phone is not nearby. Your smartwatch will make sure you will not miss anything. And so on, and the wheel spin goes. There will always be a new tech that will prompt us to invade even more or erode even further what's left of our free time. All of the above makes our attention and time allocation even more important. Coupled with the time needed to adapt and learn the new technology, not to be left behind or treated like a last century resource, we invest more and more of our own time, often subconsciously, in learning how to stay relevant. We do so via webinars and automated video platforms dissociated from specific technology, but linked to many data-centric algorithms. I don't know you, but my days have 24 hours. I like to spend at least half of them awake. And by awake, I mean alert and aware. I like the predictability of access that some technology brings. It's very convenient. In life, there are no absolutes though, just a series of compromise. This is well known by anyone sailing. So how can we compose with it all? As a contemplationist, I believe in alignment. Alignment of what we do with why we do it and how. All my observation of successful persons and leadership models proves it. The challenge lies in aligning our action, purpose, vision and value within our own universal truth, influenced by this evolving digital landscape. If these elements are misaligned, we risk perpetuating inner conflict and societal polarization. The same goes for adopting a data-centric society and leading primarily via database decision. We all, midterm, end up doing the same and killing the uniqueness that differentiates the brilliance of each one of us as leaders. With that in mind, I invite you to pause, reflect, and realign action with a greater sense of purpose. I invite you to think carefully if all the new technologies surrounding you are really worth their deployment mid to long term, or if they are just a short-term fad. And who knows, maybe watching apples fall whilst we are reflecting and stopping will make us of all of us new Newtons and some new discovery will ensue. Anyway, thank you for tuning in into the Contemplationist Insight. We explore how leadership can relate to technology to further their ability to be leaders and hopefully translate that to life itself. I hope today's episode sparked some new ways of thinking about leading in a tech-driven world, because staying ahead isn't just about keeping up with the algorithm, it's about leading with purpose. But now, I want to hear from you. What's your take? How are you balancing tech and leadership in your personal or professional life? Have you felt like tech was running the show instead of you? Drop your thought in the comment section. I read everyone, and who knows, your insight might inspire our next episode. And if you found this episode helpful, hit the subscribe button and turn on notification. We've got more game-changing conversation about leadership, innovation, and navigating the future of business coming up your way. Whilst you are at it, check out some of our old Contemplationist Insight podcast. And don't be greedy. Don't keep all this insight to yourself. Share this episode with a friend, colleague, or that one person who's constantly fighting with their smart devices. You know who you are. Remember, in a world where notifications never sleep, lead on purpose, not by algorithm. Until next time.